What's up, Lego builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios. Now, I think we can all agree that the Clone Wars TV show, while a cartoon and full of goofy moments, does have some pretty dark themes and undertones, from the betrayals on Umbara, a clone trooper getting stabbed through the torso and then kissed, to ultimately the execution of Order 66 and all that crazy dark stuff.
Execute Order 66.
So, in today's video, I'm going to be tapping into that dark theme and recreating the 3 darkest moments from the Clone Wars, in my opinion, in 10 minutes, 30 minutes, and 1 hour. But you guys have seen this series before, you know what's going down. Let's go take a look at these Lego Star Wars Mocs. First up is the 10-minute Moc. Obviously, it's the smallest of the 3. Nonetheless, I had the perfect scene for this one. The death of Jedi Master Bola Ropal. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, that's just how I'm going to pronounce it. The reason this one works so well is it's a small scene with not a whole lot going on outside of the torture of a Jedi. Also, it didn't require a lot of minifigs. I'm going to be using a large disc as the main base plate because when doing these smaller Mocs, I like to get creative with the techniques, especially for the base of the Moc to make up for its small size. To the side of the Jedi is a droid working the electric shackles. And I'm adding a large light bluish gray wall running along the back to give the illusion that the Moc is inside of something, and so that I can showcase the imprisoned Bola Ropal better. The death of Bola Ropal is not an easy scene to watch for me, and was one of the most gruesome torture scenes of the show in my opinion. He is captured and strung up with electric shackles by Cad Bane, who's trying to get Bola to open something. He refuses, and so Cad Bane has him electrocuted. He has the volts turned up so high that the droid working the controls warns it will kill the Jedi if they don't stop. Bane ignores him and orders the electricity to be turned up even higher. This whole time, Bola is getting cooked. Literally, you can see smoke coming off of him. Bane just stands there and watches him until Bola dies by electrocution. I have Bola strung up here with the trans blue studs representing his shackles. I popped his arms out and used sticky putty to get a more realistic pose with them. Now, the 30-minute Moc might not seem like a very dark scene at face value, but what it represents is much darker and more sinister, and it also kicks off one of the darkest sequences in the Clone Wars, and that is the execution of Order 66 by Emperor Palpatine. I went with a round base again, using the large quarter-cylinder sloped bricks. I did this because I wanted to represent the elegance of Coruscant and Palpatine's office in its shape and color. The most notable things in his office are obviously the hologram of Commander Cody, as well as 3 chairs and a surprising amount of controls. I thought about adding a window with the Coruscant skyline, but that wasn't possible given the 30-minute time limit, so I quickly moved on from that. I really liked how this Moc turned out. It's small but more detailed than the last one. With so many dark scenes during Order 66, it was hard to choose anything else other than those scenes for this video, but I decided that making the scene that triggered all of the other events of Order 66 would be a good workaround and allow me to pick some other scenes from the Clone Wars for the other 2 Mocs, while still giving Order 66 a good representation in this video. I have Palpatine in his office gesturing to a hologram of Commander Cody, which is the trans blue cylinder at the center of the build. Honestly, what I was the most excited to build here were the chairs. They looked so fancy and complex in the images, and I wanted to represent that by building some custom chairs of my own and not just use some pre-molded ones. I also raised up the Moc on trans-clear cylinders to eat up some time during the build and helped give the Moc a cool floating vibe. The last Moc takes us back to Kamino, one of the hardest places for me to build because of the lack of white parts I have. This scene shows Asajj Ventress choking, stabbing, and then kissing Commander Colt after he dies in a corridor. I'm going to start with a good old rectangle and black border base for the build. I don't have a ton of tiles, so I'm using some 2x plate, which I don't normally use for floors, and some black tile pieces to eat up space in the main corridor. There isn't a whole lot going on in this scene other than the walls, floors, and doorway, so I wanted to get creative and add as much detail to the walls as I could. I built the upper half of the wall on a hinge so that they could angle backwards to somewhat match the pillars. I also threw in some trans red studs and orange tile on the walls because emergency lights had kicked on in this scene and were the only things lighting everything up in the corridor, and orange and white just make me think of Kamino. I always thought this scene was kind of out of place in the Clone Wars. The savage and sensual act of Asajj killing and then kissing Colt isn't really represented again in the show, and still makes me uncomfortable when I watch it, so it was a perfect inclusion for this video. I'm not super happy with how this one turned out. I got distracted trying to make the walls taller and more detailed, so I ran out of time at the end and couldn't add more minifigs. Speaking of minifigs, I couldn't find my Ventress, so I had to build this cursed version with a Lego Chima head. I didn't really like the overall build either, but I had to remind myself that this video isn't about creating a masterpiece, but representing a given scene as accurately as I can in a certain amount of time. This one took me just over an hour to build. There they are, the 3 darkest scenes in the Clone Wars, represented as Lego Star Wars Mocs. I'm really enjoying this series, and if you have any suggestions for what I should do in the next video, let me know. Also, I'm sure there are many people who think I should have included other scenes instead of the ones I did, so let me know what your 3 darkest scenes would be down below in the comments, as well as which of these 3 Mocs was your favorite. And I will catch you guys next time, but until then, happy building.